Hello, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Diverse Suppliers Workshop organized in conjunction with Invest Africa, Unilever, KEPSA, and CAM. We're going to spend the next 90 minutes or so trying to just give you an overview of what the opportunity that we have in Unilever in terms of expanding our supplier community and giving you at least a bit of background of why we are organizing this forum. So we have lined up a couple of speakers from different organizations this afternoon. But let me just start by saying that, really the objective behind Unilever organizing this forum is to create that opportunity where we can create more local supplier base within our ecosystem and try to build our local economy, okay? The background of which most of you will be aware of is the fact that, we have a bit of a disproportionate, balance between our global supplier base and local supplier base. First of all, we know that we can, by extending our supplier base in terms of diversity, we can foster innovation. Secondly, we know it will increase competition among suppliers. And third, we know for a fact that it will complement Unilever's sustainability and diversity inclusion agenda, okay? And then finally, it also helps in partnering with brands and connecting with our consumers. And then the other thing that you need to understand is that, from a global perspective, Unilever has committed to spend at least 2 billion euros, with the diverse business worldwide, at least by 2025. And we hope that this will help support our supplier development program with a goal to build at least a partner system which should create opportunities for all. Kenya ambition as we speak, if you look at our total spend today is about 93 million, right? And our ambition really by 2025 is to increase our diverse spend progression by 49%, okay? So we are looking to at least move this from circa 2021 spend of 19 million. Year on year, we plan to increase this by 7%. And ultimately, we think by 2025, we should have hit at least 45 million, all right? So, there are many aspects in terms of how we want to look at this. So currently we have about 108 suppliers. And we think that, we have anticipated that we will be able to create at least 12,000 jobs by the time we hit this target, where we will have increased at least our spend coverage, including, 25 million euros for our diverse groups, okay? And so there are a couple of priorities we are looking at. We have SME access to finance group. We have a couple of partners who are working with us. Our priorities really is to create a partnership formalized. We need to identify some of those procurement needs that need to extend to diverse groups. We need to have partnership formalized in terms of contracts between Unilever and our critical partners, some of which you'll hear from today. Invest in Africa is one of them. KM is the other one. And, KEPSA is the other strategic partner in this journey. And then at some point, we had to create a baseline so that we are able to really measure the depth and extent to which we have integrated local suppliers within our business, so that we are able to know what scope and KPIs we are working with. And so, and as I've said before I broke out, I think SME recruitment is currently is ongoing, and we want to ensure that even within the local supplier network that we build, there's capability and capacity. And if there is some barriers in terms of finance, we need to create those linkages with strategic partners, some of whom, as I said, you will be hearing from today. So without further ado, I would want to then introduce Unilever Kenya General Manager, Lako Chieng, who will be able to give you a bit of an overview of why this is really important for Unilever as a business. Over to you, Lako.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Lako Cheng. I look after the Unilever business in Kenya. And what I want to do now is just to spend a few minutes just taking you through who Unilever is. Now, a little bit of history. William Lever started out many years ago working at his father's wholesale grocery business. And one of his products then was Lifebuoy, which was the first soap that he marketed with disinfectant qualities, making basic hygiene accessible to all at a time when disease was easily spread. Now, encouraged by his innovation, William Lever then made it his mission to improve the health of those living in Britain and to try and make cleanliness a commonplace. As Lever Brothers company, the name of the company then was called Lever Brothers. As the business grew, they joined hands with the Margarine Union. Both Lever's Brothers and the Margarine Union were really passionate about making quality products more affordable for the working classes and improving social conditions for their workers. Now, their coming together in 1930 to create one company allowed them to make products and bring purpose to even more people across the globe. Today, we know that company as Unilever, a global company with a turnover of over 51 billion euros and makes sales in nearly every country in the world. So from a humble beginning to what the company is right now. Next slide, please. Now, we've come a long way. We've come a long way since those days, those early days. But there are certain things that have stood with us all that time. Our employees and our brands still live by our founding beliefs, which are that by focusing on doing good, we'll end up also doing well as a business. And that is the ethos that really guides who we are as a company. We are a company that makes some of the most loved brands in the world. Please go back to the previous slide. You would have known about Royco, Dove, Omo, Magnum, Geisha. You'll have heard of Sunlight, Domestos. We give clean sheets to our customers, spotless bathrooms, soft towels, delicious gravy. We make nice things across the world. And all these nice things, what if we told you that simply by enjoying all these nice products from us, you could be doing a bit of good as well? What did you know that every sip of Lipton, for example, helped to save the rainforest? Every scrub of Dove supports girls' self-esteem. Every pour of Knorr stock funds scholarship for farmers. Every Sunlight wash funds women empowerment here in Kenya. Then, when you add up all across the world, all the people who are doing some nice things all over, you get a lot of good being done by so many people. So next time you go out shopping, look for that little Unilever you, because after all, every you does good. Next slide. So who we are as a company, as Unilever, we have a belief that as a business, we have the compass, which is our North Star. It defines what we do and how we do it and why we do it. We believe that we exist to make sustainable living commonplace. We believe and have seen that brands that have purpose articulated tend to grow faster, companies with purpose get to last longer, and people with purpose get to thrive. So in our vision, we strive to demonstrate that our purpose-led feature-fit business model actually drives superior business performance. And that has been our guiding principle from the time the business came together. In our supplier diversity commitments, we are also being deliberately purposeful in driving empowerment and inclusivity. Now, this is a global program executed by each of the markets considering their local realities. The 2 billion is only an outcome. What we achieve is to support diverse SMEs to thrive, opening up new opportunities for SMEs, and creating change in policies to increase recognition of diverse groups as well. Now, we know that we'll not achieve this on our own. So Unilever will work with tier 1 suppliers to commit increased diversity spend throughout our supply chain verticals, and also to adopt more progressive policies relating to diversity and inclusion. At the same time, we also recognize that it will require a lot of advocacy and engagement, not just from us, but from everybody else. So from this, I hope you have a view of who Unilever is and why we do what we do and what drives us, which is our purpose. I look forward to the discussions as we go through the details. Thank you very much. Over to you.
Thank you, Lak. Thank you so much for articulating why Unilever is in this and what we aim to achieve through the supplier diversity program. And as I said earlier, that there are a couple of strategic partners that are helping us do this, because it's not a journey that we can walk alone. As I said, Invest in Africa is one of them, KEPSA and KAM. So next, I want to introduce Terry Kenya, who is the acting country manager and COO, Chief Operating Officer of Invest in Africa, just to let us know what's their role in terms of this tripartite partnership and what do they look to achieve from Invest in Africa point of view. Terry, over to you, please.
Thank you, Joseph, and good afternoon, everybody. As you heard, I'm Terry Kenya with Invest in Africa Kenya, and gives me a lot of pride and delight to really be part of this session this afternoon. Particularly as I was listening to Lak and hearing some of my favorite brands that we've had in our homes since we were growing up, and the good that they're doing, it gives us such delight to be able to participate towards enhancing this impact, and for all of us to be invited to really walk this journey. I will introduce briefly Invest in Africa, what we do, and our role, particularly in the partnership with Unilever. And of course, I will make a call to invite you to join our network. We are a network, a private sector-led network of very diverse stakeholders who include multinationals, large local corporates, local MSMEs, financial institutions, development partners, among others, who have come together to empower enterprises to be able to create jobs. And we do this through enhancing access to skills, to markets, and to finance. Therefore, through this, we are contributing to creating prospering African economies. We are present in different markets across Africa, right now currently in East and West Africa, but with an inspiration to go across Africa. We are in Ghana, Senegal, Mauritania, Guinea, and Zambia in terms of operations, including Kenya. But we do have projects as well beyond this English and French-speaking countries. We have projects in Portuguese-speaking Mozambique as well, and we are already having a project going on in Uganda as well. So we are cross-sector, but we have certain thematic areas of focus because we see positive impact as job creation. And the reason we're working to empower enterprises is to enable them to create jobs. And therefore, we have a greater focus in areas which have high labor intensity, particularly food and agriculture. We are in manufacturing, infrastructure development, which cuts across all major national projects, such as the oil pipeline we have all been anticipating. We are intentional about inclusion, not just of SMEs to be integrated into supply chains of large local corporates and to be able to participate fully in the economy, but even in engaging MSMEs, micro, small, and medium enterprises. We are intentional about marginalized groups such as women, youth, persons living with disabilities, as well as the economically marginalized. For example, SMEs who are working in the slum areas of urban areas. not to be left out. And particularly since the onset of COVID, we do have a keen focus on building resilience, particularly around risk and sustainability of MSMEs. We are guided by these 4 objectives in what we do. So first and foremost, we are existing to enable local MSMEs here in Kenya and of course in the other markets working in the same manner to be able to participate in the economy. MSMEs are drivers of the economy. So we would like to empower you to be able to sustainably create jobs. And we are seeking to increase linkages between small, quote unquote, local MSMEs and large corporates. So we sort of are leveling the playing ground between these Davids and Goliaths, if I can use that, if you can excuse me to use that example, to make sure that we are able to connect and work together to develop our economy. We do realize that in leveling the playing ground, that we are not seeking to lower the standards, global standards of multinationals and large local corporates, but instead we want to work to help MSMEs to understand and achieve these standards so that they can be able to deliver as expected. So we have put together capacity building programs as well as partnerships with financial institutions to provide the financing that may be required to deliver the contracts and make sure that SMEs are not only effective, but they are being enhanced in terms of competitiveness. Finally, we would like to, a slide back, please. Finally, we are keen and careful to make sure that we do capture the case studies of the impact of a private sector-led initiative and what this can do for the economy, and of course demonstrate these case studies through storytelling as well, to be able to inspire other large organizations to work with SMEs and to be able to inspire SMEs to also seek to achieve that participation, full participation in job creation and contribution to prospering of the Kenyan economy. So our interventions cut across 3 main pillars, that is access to markets, access to skills, and access to finance. And for the access to market element, we have built a Biashara.Now platform. It's an online technology platform, which is really a matchmaking platform or a marketplace where our partner buyers, in this case, Unilever, would be able to connect with credible local suppliers who are members of Biashara.Now. So we have our corporate partners floating tenders and other procurement opportunities on Biashara.Now, where they gain visibility of the credible local suppliers, and our SMEs are able to gain visibility of these opportunities and participate in that. So on Biashara.Now platform, we register and validate MSMEs who would have products to supply, but they lack access to markets, or at least a coordinated way to access these markets. And we raise their standards, help them to integrate into supply chains of these partners in a way that's transparent, independent. We also have a socioeconomic tool, therefore we are able to track the impact of these linkages. For access to skills pillar, which is our second pillar, on Biashara.Now platform, we have a Biashara Academy, which really is a virtual hub that SMEs can access all the knowledge and standards that they need to be aware of the markets, both locally and internationally. And particularly during COVID, we did put together what we called a COVID-19 survival toolkit, which initially was aimed at responding to the pandemic, but we are now working towards building back better, having risk resilient organizations which can withstand not just a similar disaster like the pandemic, but all other disasters. As we know, our market or our environment, we have really had other disasters such as floods, famine, name it, locust invasion, name it. So to up risk resilience. The programs have different interventions. For example, we have training, we have coaching with certified coaches. We are in partnership with the International Coach Federation here in Kenya. peer mentorship, exchange tours, really exposing you to what the standards would be, what others are doing, and giving you the knowledge that you need to be able to compete successfully for these opportunities and to deliver them effectively. Thirdly, our access to finance. We do realize that the loop is not closed. If you're giving linkages that give you contracts that you need financing to deliver. So therefore, we have partnered with some premier, reliable financial institutions such as Stanbic Bank and Equity Bank, who are working with us to design financial products for SMEs, as well as grant them the financing they may need, particularly, whether it is debt or equity in that manner. But beyond that, we do have an investor readiness program where we support SMEs to become bank ready as well, and to be able to bridge the gap between where you're at and the requirements by these financial institutions, so that you can successfully achieve the financing. So to be able to access any of these interventions, we do welcome you to join our Biashara.Now platform today. The website is www.biashara.now.com, and you will be able to access Unilever procurement opportunities through the platform, as well as any of our other partners that you see here. As I said, we are working with multinationals, local corporates who act as buyers. We are working with development partners who fund programs to build SME capacity. We are working with financial institutions mainly for financing. We are working with business membership organizations really to make sure that we extend the reach of SMEs and we are able to bring you into the fold. For example, in this partnership with Unilever. And as you can see, many of the partnerships do cut across. You can see a KEPSA logo there, as well as Unilever, and then there's a direct, of course, relationship also with KEPSA and Unilever. So I'd like to briefly mention our impact to date. We have created over 82,000 jobs so far in our work here in Kenya. We have, I've mentioned, over 5,000 registered on the platform. We have trained over 4,000 SMEs, and so far we have extended finance worth over 650 million. Actually, we have had many times more of requesting financing, but of course we continue to work towards designing financial products that are best suited for MSMEs. So I'm really delighted and proud to welcome you this afternoon to this session. Delighted to be sharing a platform with Unilever Kenya, KEPSA, and CAM, among other strategic partners, and looking forward to working with you towards creating this impact and sustainable livelihoods that Unilever is seeking, where we all share a mission towards empowering you to be the creators of jobs and to contribute to prosper in our economy. Thank you very much. I'd like to pass this back to Joseph, and I look forward to the session this afternoon. Thank you.
We will proceed to KEPSA. Mucha, please go on.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon to you all. As indicated already by those who have gone before me, we're delighted to be hosting this workshop in collaboration with Unilever, Invest in Africa, and Kenya Association of Manufacturing. My name is Mucha Mlingo, and I am the chair of the Gender Sector Board at KEPSA. KEPSA is the Kenya Private Sector Alliance, and we are the apex body of private sector in Kenya. KEPSA brings together local and foreign business associations, chambers of commerce, professional bodies, corporates, as multinational companies, medium corporates, SMEs, and startups from all sectors of the economy, representing over 1 million businesses under one umbrella to enable them to speak with one voice when engaging government, development partners, and other stakeholders on cross-cutting policy issues affecting private sector development. And we implement programs that ensure growth of business and socioeconomic development of the country. KEPSA supports businesses with opportunities for training, networking, financial linkages, mentorship and coaching, access to markets, value chains, and access to investment opportunities with many partners from around the world. The concepts of diversity and inclusion are entrenched in our 2010 Constitution, but we need deliberate efforts by government, private sector, and civil society to ensure that these concepts are actually realized and made an integral part of the fabric of our society. At KEPSA, we drive the Supplier Diversity Program within the Gender Sector Board, which I lead, with an aim to seek to improve Kenya's business environment for sustainable and inclusive growth. The initiative has provided a great opportunity to ensure that no one is left behind in the efforts to ensure recovery, resilience, and the growth of businesses owned by women, youth, and persons with disability, as well as other marginalized groups during and post-COVID-19. We applaud organizations like Unilever that have embraced this initiative and made it part of their organizational philosophy. We are further encouraged by the studies that have shown that companies that have diversified their workforce and supply chains actually report higher profitability and access to a wider pool of talent, resources, and innovations, which ultimately give them competitive edge. For example, a 2019 report by McKinsey titled Diversity Wins shows that companies in the top quartile for gender diversity on executive teams were 25% more likely to have an above average profitability than companies in the bottom quartile. This is even higher for ethnic and cultural diversity at 36%. Besides the benefit to procuring companies, supplier diversity encourages innovation and value chain development, thus sustaining thousands of jobs in the economy. This is especially notable considering MSMEs account for over 80% of Kenya's total employment and about 1/3 of our GDP. KEPSA remains committed to ensuring all businesses, whether small or large, have an opportunity to maximize their potential. Before and during this pandemic, the Gender Sector Board has been working very closely with the Ministry of Public Service, Gender, Senior Citizen Affairs, and Special Programs to push for enabling policies. Allow me to share a little of the work that we have been doing as the Gender Sector Board through KEPSA. We launched a Supplier Diversity Summit a number of years ago. And following this, we have been working with organizations and encouraging them to embrace this concept of supplier diversity. But we know that there is need to push for more implementation across the sector. We developed a private sector supplier diversity statement of commitment for the corporates that form our membership at KEPSA and those beyond to commit to opening up their supplier databases to be inclusive of women, youth, and persons with disability. We're also connecting the women-owned businesses in our database with buyers like Unilever. In addition to this, we have mentorship programs for women in business, for example, in collaboration with the Embassy of Ireland and the MasterCard Foundation, in order to build their resilience and ensure continuity during and post the pandemic. We partnered with MasterCard Foundation to offer SMEs interest-free loans of up to 1.5 million Kenya shillings, repayable in 6 months, with priority being given to women and youth-owned businesses. To build hands-on experience, we have prioritized digitization and access to digitally enabled jobs, an area of high potential, especially as we've gone through the pandemic period. We are training and equipping young men and women with digital skills for online work through the Ajira Digital Project. KEPSA has also partnered with Google to undertake a series of trainings that seek to build the capacity of 1,000 business owners to confidently participate in this digital economy by training them on how to get their businesses online, how to leverage e-commerce platforms, and how to understand digital marketing so that their businesses can thrive utilizing these online platforms. In addition to this, we ran an e-commerce booster program in partnership with Trademark East Africa that was aimed at training 2,000 SMEs on e-commerce, digital marketing, and onboard them onto the various digital marketplaces. In order to support MSMEs that are KEPSA members directly and through representation of other business associations, KEPSA established the SME Club. And the objective of the SME Club will be creating a voice for MSMEs in the following areas: business, regulatory and business climate environment, access to finance and markets, and capacity and human capital development of MSMEs. As the Gender Sector Board, we work closely with the SME Club in order to support the members of this club, and especially paying focus to our constituents, the women-owned businesses and youth-led businesses, and businesses led by persons with disabilities. KEPSA also has a business hub, which is a strategic business unit within the organization, birthed from strategic partnerships that it has entered into around the world, and in Kenya with the sole purpose of enhancing trade and investments, both locally and internationally. The Business Hub is a catalyst for economic growth, linking private sector as well as acting as a bridge to public sector, both locally and internationally. For instance, KEPSA and the Corporate Council on Africa signed a US-Kenya trade initiative that aims at upskilling SMEs to provide a unique platform to facilitate US and Kenyan SME partnerships to support women and youth to run Kenyan businesses, as well as US women, minority and diaspora-owned businesses, and help SMEs in both countries to address the current challenges many face to access the two markets. One of the consequences of the COVID pandemic has been increased incidences of gender-based violence, something that grew at alarming rates. And in addition to this was the increased burden of care for women and disproportionate financial impact, job losses for women. To address this, KEPSA partnered with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, and we're currently undertaking a gender-based violence advocacy program in the private sector. The intervention is aimed at creating an enabling environment for the elimination of GBV, scaling up evidence-driven prevention programming and accessible services for survivors through private sector intervention. Early this year, a GBV and mental health subcommittee was constituted within the Gender Sector Board, and the subcommittee is responsible for coordinating and championing gender-based violence and mental health management in response within the private sector, especially as we navigate these challenging times. KEPSA utilizes a 24-hour call center to business-related information, providing counseling services and support for the Wheels of Life program that enables expectant mothers to access hospital hours. And this was extremely important during the curfew hours when transport was limited. When we continue with the studies that we're doing, it allows us to make data-driven decisions, providing interventions that are targeted to support women and youth-owned businesses, as well as businesses that are led by persons living with disability. As an organization, KEPSA has undertaken a baseline study that seeks to provide insights on the prevalence of gender-based violence in the private sector, its trends and the impact on productivity. And this study really examined the adoption and implementation of GBV-related laws and policies in the private sector, documenting GBV management and the response initiatives within the private sector. The idea here is for us to be able to recommend measures that are needed to build a business case in GBV management and response. These are just a few of the different initiatives that we have been championing as the Gender Sector Board, as we work to really ensure a conducive environment for women, youth, and persons living with disability. We're really excited to be part of this program, as I had already mentioned, collaborating with Unilever, Invest in Africa, and CAM, as we support Unilever in their mission to diversify their supply chains. And we look forward to this continued engagement, and we look forward to seeing the impact for women, youth, persons living with disability, so that, as a friend of mine likes to say, we can see more money in their pockets. Thank you very much. Looking forward to the continued conversation and engaging in the Q&A that will come at the end.
Indeed, Mucha Mlingo, thank you so much. Mucha is the chair of KEPSA Gender Sector Board. Thank you for articulating the role of KEPSA in, of course, consolidating the voice of the industry and creating those very important interlinkages between the SMEs and, of course, the large players. And I see a lot of interest already in terms of SME Club and those who feel they want to know more in terms of how they can join the SME Club. So we'll be revisiting those questions much later. Our next speaker will be Joyce Njogu, who is the head of CAM Consulting and Business Development, who will also give us a bit of insights in the role of CAM in this partnership. Joyce, please feel welcome.
Thank you very much. I wish to just acknowledge first this partnership with Unilever. We started a while back to discuss how to build local content and use large manufacturers to see opportunities where the smaller businesses can plug in as suppliers. And I'm very grateful to see the partnership has grown, and we've been able to now expand and work together also with Invest in Africa and KEPSA, which is really a good thing. And we believe once we look for these kinds of partnerships and work together, we'll create a great force that will have an impact in this country. Just for those who may not be familiar with CAM, it's a membership body for manufacturing value-add industries in Kenya, private sector. Some people, I've heard people asking whether CAM is government, is because of the word Kenya Association. It's a private sector body that was established in 1959, and we are 62 years later still advocating for a business competitive environment. And we work closely with government and other private sector bodies like KEPSA, where we then advocate for a competitive business environment. We've created quite a credible voice in this country on what the industrialists would want to share. We've also been quite strong in promoting the right policies in this country that support a sustainable manufacturing sector, and in the process also have a multiplier effect, which is the main discussion today, to reach out to those that ordinarily may have been left out in the course of the aggression of business enterprises establishing their positions in the market. So as CAM, we have a contribution to make to our GDP. Our ambition has been 15% by 2022. We are quite behind with that in terms of the current statistics that show we are at 7.4%. And our primary role of creating a competitive and sustainable local manufacturing is being affected by very many challenges, and the most recent being COVID. But at CAM, then, we are still ambitious, and we believe we can move with those targets even if it's much later. I know there are some slides being shared, just that they are slow as I move. Allow me to move also with the pace that I am moving with. But in terms of manufacturing, we are very clear that we cannot exist without a strong value chain, and each value chain actor must be strengthened so that we can go together in a way that is sustainable as a sector and also as an economy in this country. We have Jesse Jackson, an American activist, who said that inclusion is not a matter of political correctness. We've seen a lot of political correctness around how we discuss inclusion, gender, and other things. But through a lot of research, it has been seen as the key to growth anyone who wants to grow must really address the issues of inclusion and diversity to a large extent so that they can express their ambitions as well as participate in supporting the communities and the people that we serve. I remember growing up with Unilever, and a lot of the products we knew were all about Unilever, whether it's food like the margarines or soaps that you're washing, it was all about Unilever. And we've seen how the dynamics have changed, but I want to appreciate Unilever for helping us have a good lifestyle as we grew up and continuing to do good up to today. So, and we are glad that this inclusive development is a real agenda within Unilever that's playing as a great example. So at CAM, we first started addressing the issues of SMEs, where people assumed that we were a big boys club. And we wanted to demonstrate that actually quite a number of our members, almost 40%, are either small or medium sized. It's just that probably their voices were not well heard. And we came up with the CAM SME Hub that was designed to offer a holistic approach to SME engagement. And this hub then would address all the aspects that affect SMEs and leveraging on the CAM structure. And one of the areas really was the policy priorities, where the SMEs didn't have a voice as such, and we needed to consolidate their voice and advocate different stakeholders so that the SMEs could also thrive in this economy. The other area was the capacity building and business development, and also just giving them a network through our membership services. So that's how we structured it and consolidated our efforts towards supporting SMEs and for them to be involved in a more sustainable way at CAM. At the SME Hub, the primary group is those in manufacturing, SMEs in manufacturing, and then we've extended to their entire value chain just to make sure that they're growing in tandem. And one of the challenges SMEs have had, of course, the access to raw materials has been a very big challenge that has then led to strengthening of value chains. But within the hub, there's the capacity building services that a lot of you are also engaged in. We have separated them. We have the micro SMEs who are largely startups or have been micro for a while, and we have a support program for them, also advisory services for them, and where we do diagnostics before building their capacity. We then have the small category where we also build their capacity as small businesses. And the small category, we look at the market linkages, mainly local market linkages, maybe access to supermarkets, access to different retail stores that they can be able to showcase their products and partner in promoting them. Also financial linkages, a lot of SMEs, of course, we're all aware they need financial solutions of different types. And we have large industries like Unilever that have been invited to offer also credit opportunities to the SMEs, and in a way that they can access markets and access their raw materials without strain, or even building economies of scale in sourcing for raw materials. And I know Unilever has that global network of sourcing for raw materials that can support small-scale SMEs in accessing some of these at a low price. Standards and certification process. A lot of the small businesses are always bombarded with issues of certification, standards, and that's a major product for us to offer them, and also mentoring and coaching support. And there are different aspects of what we've done in offering mentoring and coaching. Also looking at a retirement expert program where we get people who are retired to come and support SMEs at very low cost. They just have to pay for their transport and accommodation, and then they support the SMEs using their expertise over the years to handle them for a period of not less than 2 weeks. Also within that, we have the business coach program that also has advanced into board of advisors support. And we encourage all SMEs to just have a small board, even if it's 2 or 3 people, where they can be a sounding board and they can guide them and feel that they're answerable to a committee somewhere. And here we've structured it using the normal corporate governance structure, where they report at least every quarter on their progress, so that they can also just feel that they're adding value and not second guess themselves a lot of SMEs feel alone and they're always second guessing. So the Board of Advisors program is quite rich, and we've seen a lot of growth in that area. The medium-sized companies, we have a strong business growth program that looks at their entire business and just rethinking the innovations around that and how they could move up in terms of scaling up once they have their systems in place. Also, the value chain linkages, we realize a lot of the SMEs don't, or the medium-sized, or generally SMEs don't have access to an entire value chain. And they're keeping on running around, wondering who to connect with, running out of networks to engage, and this has been quite useful. So value chain by value chain, and then we build those networks and bring them together to operate independently in a way that they can build each other's businesses. Also, the governance programs that we've done. For the medium, we've gone as much as even supporting them on looking at their anti-corruption compliance systems, just strengthening their systems and their business processes so that they can grow in a more sustainable manner. And lastly, the export market, the financial linkages I'd mentioned earlier, and then export market linkages. So financial is just a scale of financial solutions that they're looking at that's quite different from the small and the micro, as well as the exports, where we are looking at volumes and different destination markets that they could aggressively access, whether in the EAC, COMESA, or in the AFCFTA location. Some of them, we take them to Europe as well, through trade missions and matchmaking profiles to enhance trade and investment for them and connect them to the rest of the export market network. Within this, besides the market linkages, which we've discussed, quite a lot has been discussed on that, where we also have been doing subcontracting arrangements, connecting SMEs also to factories that can produce for them at scale, so that they're able to meet volumes when the demand arises, so they can utilize also excess capacity from large industries. So there's that part, and also subcontracting from a perspective of component manufacturing for another business. We have also promoted productivity within the SMEs just to enhance their operational efficiency, and quite popularize the good manufacturing practices that we take them through, issues of health and safety, and which was also enhanced during the COVID season. Kaizen and other lean manufacturing programs that SMEs have found quite useful, because you save costs from the onset and it becomes a culture of zero waste, as well as enhanced teamwork and productivity. Within that also, we've helped some SMEs to start right, having smart factory outlines that help them to be more efficient from the word go and manage people efficiently. Also, issues of looking at their resource management. So we've supported them with how to be more resource efficient, and through our green growth programs, whether it's energy efficiency or water efficiency, depending on the resources that they use mostly. And most recently also waste management value chains, where we've networked with a lot of people, the recyclers, the waste collectors, just to enhance extended producer responsibility for the SMEs in partnership with the large industry. So largely what we do is have special focus for SMEs as we drive along the wider programs for the rest of the businesses in the manufacturing sector. We've done so many programs and partnerships with different donors that have been brought up, and also COMESA Business Council in supporting local sourcing and entrenching SMEs into the international supply chain. We've done a program with the GIZ on inclusive manufacturing in the region, targeting Kenya, Uganda, and Rwanda. And the inclusivity there and diversity was first from a regional perspective. Kenya is quite advanced when it comes to manufacturing, and we wanted to reach out to people in SMEs in Uganda and Rwanda, so that brought in that geographic and cultural diversity. We also addressed issues of different sectors, so that different sectors are engaged, as well as special groups like the youth, the women, and persons with disability. And we deliberately made sure that each country has a good representation in that area, and we're able to really do deep dives into their business diagnostics and other support programs that we brought in, business skills being one of those. For financial linkages, we've also partnered with a lot of financial institutions to co-create products that can serve our SMEs, because a lot of times we feel most of the products could be cliche or such, and we've been able to tailor-make quite a bit for our SMEs. And I must say, at least a lot of financial solution providers are listening now, and they're creating platforms to engage different stakeholders, including our SMEs and our women. Also encouraging them to join partnerships with the Nairobi Securities Exchange and Capital Markets Authority, and just to look at how they can also raise capital from such ventures. This has been quite topical, although difficult for SMEs to access, and we are currently discussing with the CMEs and NSCs how to have simpler products that are easy to access for the SMEs. The other area where we have strong support for SMEs has been said, and the women, is in skills development. Initially, we were focusing on the STEM courses, the technical and vocational skills, then most recently digitization and e-commerce, which worked very well in 2020, onboarding SMEs into different e-commerce platforms and e-payment solutions, and quite a number of SMEs were able to make progress even amidst the lockdown and working from home challenges. Most recently, we've entered into a program to build resilience of SMEs through recognizing innovations that they have and building their capacity to scale up. And later on, we should have like an award system to just recognize the innovation that is there for our SMEs and our women. At CAM also, we launched the Women in Manufacturing platform, where we noticed that manufacturing was heavily male-dominated for quite a number of years, based on its history, where a lot of the skills were related to engineering and such, and which were highly male-dominated in the past. So we've done heavy research and acknowledged that different sectors have largely male workers. So we were looking at workers, the workforce, as well as the ownership. And it is not a secret that very few women own manufacturing plants. So what we decided to do as CAM is to begin to sensitize women to venture into manufacturing businesses as owners, and also as leaders and employees that can add value, knowing that a lot of products that are sold in this market, really, the decision makers are women, from personal care to footwear to clothing to just furniture. You'll find that women are heavy decision makers. So why not partner with the manufacturers to co-create and come up with products that serve their purpose and their needs, hence the aggression to make sure that women are contributing meaningfully in most of these business ventures. So that's why we advocate for an inclusive manufacturing sector, and also we are addressing various policy initiatives and incentives that encourage women to be key players in different value chains and supply chains. Some we are doing it deliberately, and others just enhancing women's capacity, because again, it's not just a way of saying women should be engaged, they also need to be competitive and capable of delivering quality services to the Kenyans and generally to citizens globally. So we recognize that we need to build capacity of women, and we've gotten into different initiatives to strengthen their capacity and give them an equal platform to compete, so that we are able to acknowledge that they have the same capabilities. And where there are gaps, then we build their capacity to bridge those gaps. Generally, women also are not necessarily very strong in networking, maybe in the urban areas, but in a bit of the rural urban settings, we find that networking from a business perspective is still very low. A lot of networkings are from chama and social kind of networking, and translating that to serve the business angle is a quick turnaround just through trainings and such, and building knowledge around where markets are, knowledge around business skills, and generally opportunities like how they can access procurement opportunities from companies like Unilever and others is another area that is very good and working for women. And we appreciate all the players that are creating that knowledge platform as well as connecting them to grow. So as CAM, we are quite proud to be engaged with this network. We also acknowledge that our focus being niche on manufacturing, we would like to partner with all the other sectors so that we strengthen different value chains, since we can't exist in isolation, and be able to move in a sustainable manner for the growth of our different stakeholders who are generally not very well strengthened within the economic platforms, like our women, our youth, and also most recently persons with disability. Thank you so much, Unilever, for this partnership and for connecting us with the Invest in Africa and KEPSA, so that together we may move forward and have a greater impact in this country. Thank you.
Thank you indeed, Joyce. Very well articulated in terms of your role as CAM in terms of facilitating, training, and of course, policy and advocacy support, both for for the micro, small, and of course, the medium-sized enterprises as well. So very well articulated, and thank you so much. Now we want to move to the next session. As we said, this is not necessarily about presentation alone, but also engagement in terms of how exactly do we do this? And we'll be hearing from three speakers, obviously kicked off by Jacqueline Karanja, who is our strategic sourcing manager, agencies in Africa, who will take us through Unilever buyer training session, and will also be assisted by Patricia Langan, who is the regional director for Africa and Middle East in WeConnect, with one of our strategic partners, as well as Elizabeth Annette Mutesi, the regional procurement officer in IFC. So over to you, Jacqueline, in terms of taking us to the next phase of this session.
Thank you so much, Sandy. Hi, everyone. So I'm Jackie. I'll take you through procurement, a breakdown from what Lark had mentioned earlier in just terms of, so we have different categories: home care, personal care, and foods and refreshments. And from a procurement perspective, we serve these categories in three ways. So one is marketing and business services, which under this, if I can just give top line examples, would be things like facilities management, canteen security, taxi services, what else? CapEx and MRO, as well as agencies, activations, creative, and PR. When we move to supply chain services, we have logistics and contract manufacturing and production items, which is now the raw and pack materials that go behind building the great brands that have been mentioned within the call. Top of mind are things like chemicals for our detergents, packaging for all the end-to-end products, and naturals, which is an array of ingredients that go into our products. And that's how, from a procurement perspective, we have suppliers who support us to enable us to support our great brands that you see in the trade. In our scope in procurement, we do support East Africa, being Kenya, Ethiopia, Uganda, Tanzania, and Rwanda. And our current projection in terms of getting our diverse suppliers onboarded by 2025 is to spend €4 million through them. Next slide, please. So I'll just give you a quick overview on how we, from a procurement Unilever space, onboard suppliers. So one, it starts through supplier identification. What need is there in the respective bucket of procurement? So either the procurement person or a user of the service would propose suppliers, scout the market, and then from there we shortlist through doing capacity and capability reviews, as well as financial strength, depending on the scope of the project, as well as the financial obligation that would require yourself to undertake on behalf of Unilever. After that, of course, there's a few documentation that we review, such as your tax compliance, CR12, company profile, referees, just to give us a further understanding of who the respective company is. It's more like a get to know you kind of situation. Depending on the service, we request a sample or request you to pitch. So like, let's say the activation space, we require you to pitch to the brands team in regards to how you can help the brand be top of mind in trade. If it's in the packaging and raw material space, samples that would have to be qualified through our quality and our R&D department. If it would be on the logistics space, would probably do a site visit, look at your fleet, check your safety and your security, health and well-being measures. Post this, you are requested for a quotation. We can either do email or e-tender, where we just invite you to bid online with respective other interested parties, and then we internally review and based on cost competitiveness, cost and business target, because at the end of the day, we need to make sure we are doing what's right for the business. We then invite you to be a Unilever supplier. Post this, then we will proceed to contract sign off, onboard you onto our system, and you'll have a few trainings to undergo, such as our procure to pay process, which is now for the finance invoicing bit, a bit of learning on our quality policies, safety, security, health, and well-being. We also have what we call a mandatory sustainability audit, and this is just in terms of Unilever making sure that, yes, we are doing good to our consumers in terms of making sure we're giving them the right quality, quantity, and price product on shelf, but also in terms of, as a supplier, are you treating your employees well? Just to highlight that, their working hours, their wages. So just to have a full end-to-end visibility of your company. Post this, the respective requisitioner will create a PO, engage you for services, which you will then supply. We receive them through the invoice, a delivery note, and then we process the payment, and the cycle continues as per business need. We do also offer supplier financing through Citibank because of the respective payment terms that we give to our vendors. Next slide. So this, given we have just 1 month to the year, we just thought it would be prudent of us to show you what we are doing at present and what are our plans in 2022, and also what would be ongoing as well. So at present, we are getting into the market on creative and digital RFQ. This is just in order to support our respective brands, as well as public relations and activation and promotional services. In 2022, primarily in a logistics front, we have services to be tendered for outbound logistics. So for us, outbound is from factory to the respective regions within the country. So that's for Kenya. You have warehousing, and as well inbound and outbound logistics in Ethiopia. So that is from port to the factory, and from factory to the respective regions within Ethiopia, and then clearing and forwarding services in Kenya. On an ongoing basis, just because we also want to be sure we are aligned to what's happening in the market, abreast to each other, and also for benchmarking purposes, we are always having what we call resilient suppliers, especially in the more critical areas of supply. And this one in particular is on the packaging space. As you can imagine, all products in packaging. So for wrappers, for brands like Geisha, Omo, labels for maybe a brand like Vaseline, plastics, be it the bottles, for your Vaseline lotion, and again, polysaccharides where we put in our detergents as they go into trade. So those are the opportunities at present open. It is not binding, there are more to come. So this is just what is actively happening currently. And with that, I hope I didn't wrap too much. Thank you.
Thank you so much for articulating those opportunities. As I said, it's more important for us to get to the crux of it beyond just talking, and you have seen the highlight of some of the immediate opportunities we are looking at for 2022. I'll now hand over to Patricia Langan, Regional Director for Africa and Middle East at WeConnect, to also give us a bit of an overview of the opportunities for diverse suppliers. Over to you, Patricia.
Thank you so much for inviting us to present. So the argument has been persuasively made by everyone who preceded me about how important it is to support diverse suppliers and how it helps large companies like Unilever grow. So I'm not going to go through all those persuasive arguments again. But one thing I want to point out is today only 1% of all large corporate and government spend worldwide goes to women-owned businesses. That's a very small number. Research shows, though, that if men and women were able to participate equally in the global economy, global GDP would rise by at least $1.5 trillion. So for that reason, We Connect International exists. We were started by some of the world's largest buyers 11 years ago to help promote more buying from women-owned businesses. And our mission, and we can go to the next slide actually. Our mission is to drive more money into the hands of women-owned businesses like you. So our reason for being is totally focused on women-owned companies and serving our members like Unilever. So today we have over 146 member buyers across the world, and they represent the largest companies in the world, everything from Accenture to Unilever. Our members also include the World Bank, the United Nations, the IMF, and we partner very closely with the IFC. So what is it that women business owners actually get out of being part of our network? Can we go to the next slide, please? We register, certify, educate, and connect. We can go to the next slide, please. Women own businesses in 126 countries in the world. Right now, we are most active in Africa, in South Africa and Nigeria. And those two countries represent 25% of all the women-owned businesses in our network worldwide. We have about 3,000 in South Africa and Nigeria, and our total network is 13,000 women-owned businesses worldwide. We are expanding to Kenya, and we welcome all of you. If you are at least 51% owned, managed, and controlled by one or more women, to join our network. It's not a zero-sum game. You can join as many networks as you want, and we encourage you to join ours today. So by next year, we will have certification services available in Kenya. And why is certification important? It verifies that indeed your business is at least 51% owned and managed and controlled by one or more women. And our member buyers ask for this verification so that when they make public claims that they are buying from women-owned businesses, they can feel confident that the business indeed meets those standards. So what do we do for certified women-owned businesses? We showcase them. We make them very visible globally through our social media and through events like the Rise to Avail Challenge Awards. We strengthen your leadership and your skills so that you can access new markets and grow your business. Much of that training is actually member-led, and it is derived from their real-life, real-time experiences working with women-owned businesses. You've just seen the 3 stages of procurement at Unilever, and you've seen how many steps are involved in getting into the Unilever procurement system, much less even responding to an RFP that they publish. So the question is, are you prepared to go through that process with a member like Unilever? And I encourage you to register. And once we have certification going in Kenya, to certify, to take our training classes, and to participate in the networking with buyers worldwide. We have tomorrow a demonstration and question and answer session at 12 p.m. East Africa time. It's moderated by our country director in South Africa, who can answer every question you have about registration. I see a question here. Do women-owned businesses pay for certification? Yes. Certification has a fee attached because of the work we have to do to assess your business. But registration is free, and you can register today. And I am dropping you the link for the orientation session for tomorrow. And I'm open to any of your questions, and we look forward to working with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Patricia, indeed, for the unique role you play as we connect, in linking women-owned business to the global marketplace, as well as giving them access to your 145 plus member buyer community. Really, indeed, very appreciative. And I think, please, for those who are on the call, take note of tomorrow's session as highlighted by Patricia for the registration. Next, I will introduce Elizabeth Annette Mutesi, who's the Regional Procurement Officer at AFC, to also give us very quickly the opportunities that exist from IFC point of view.
Thank you, Joseph. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm glad Patricia has kind of confirmed a few areas I was going to talk about, and we will be glad to know that the certification will soon happen in Kenya. Thank you, Patricia, for that confirmation and assurance. IFC follows the World Bank Group's principles of fairness, transparency, and competition. And at IFC, we do both. We procure both for our country offices procurements and also for the technical assistance we give to clients. Part of our advisory and upstream work currently involves a lot of consulting assignments and services to the different clients that IFC invests in. Next slide, please. As part of our technical assistance to firms, to our clients, we procure lots of consultancy services from firms. These include feasibility studies, due diligence assignments, market surveys, capacity building, strategy development for IFC clients, and a number of other consulting services. So we advertise these consulting services on the World Bank Group portal. The link will be shared in the chat. It's on one of the next slides. And we usually advertise assignments above $50,000 US. Then for administrative procurements, we also procure these for our offices. We have about 12 offices, 3 hub offices in Senegal, Nairobi, and Johannesburg. And we procure a number of translation services, printing services, office supplies for our various offices, furniture, cleaning, and maintenance. Then administrative consulting is again internal for use within our offices. We have a number of training programs for our staff, facilitation services for retreats, and other consulting assignments. So for all consulting assignments, these are advertised on the World Bank Group eConsultant 2 platform. It's open to all firms. These are advertised globally, and we encourage women businesses to check daily for the various opportunities that are posted. Then for goods and non-consulting services, we also advertise these on the corporate procurement website. However, these have a higher threshold. It's usually $250,000 USD and above. So for those assignments that are not advertised, we have databases that are updated from time to time, and we encourage the women-owned businesses to register their company details on the We Connect international website. It's important that the suppliers know what we consider as mandatory criteria. We have to comply with the government authorities' regulations. So all our suppliers have to be registered as either a company or sometimes a sole proprietor for the smaller assignments, but registered with the relevant government authority. Then they have to comply with the different government regulations, tax compliance, required certifications, say for outside catering services or any other maintenance services that need to comply with the different national standards. Then for the hub offices, which have usually 150,000 to 150 staff and above, we usually require the companies to have 2 to 3 years relevant experience in the sector that is being advertised for. We have other offices where the smaller offices, for example, in East Africa, our smaller offices are in Kigali, Rwanda, Dar es Salaam, Tanzania, Kampala, Uganda. So the suppliers, again, should at least have been in business for 1 year at a minimum. Then the financial capacity of the firm, the revenue generated in a given period has to match the contract value or not less, because we expect the vendors to finance the contracts before payment is made at the end of the contract period. Now, what constitutes a good proposal? We feel these are areas that we need to talk about to help suppliers develop good bids. You always need to indicate the relevant experience you have undertaken on previous similar assignments, because this confirms your technical capabilities. You have to have a good understanding of the requirements in the statement of work or terms of reference. Then you have to give competitive pricing, because we also attach different weights to the prices, different weights in addition to the technical capabilities of the firm. Then for consulting assignments, again, relevant experience in terms of scope and size is important. The methodology, which has to be creative and practical and applicable to the different sectors, and then experienced and qualified key experts. Yeah, thank you. I'm open to questions now.
Thank you indeed, Elizabeth. Thank you so much for your presentation from IFC point of view and the opportunities that exist. I now want to move to the interesting bit, which is the engagement section, the Q&A. And I would want to start probably with the ones on the chat box that have not been responded to. I think the one that stands out maybe to Patricia is about certification. Is it free? What is the cost if it is not, Patricia?
Certification, there will be a fee for. Once certification is available in Kenya, there will be a fee. It will be probably a few $100s a year. We have yet to establish the exact price. Think of it as a marketing fee, really, marketing expense. So, but registration is completely free, and you can register today. And when you register, your business is on the database and it's visible to all of our member buyers and also to other women-owned businesses on the database. And you build your business profile, you make yourself look really great, you put in the right keywords, and you might have people contacting you through the database. You can also see, there's a certain number of RFPs that you can see on the database. Sometimes it is required that a company be certified in order to respond to an RFP, but not always. And yeah, I just encourage you to go and register today, and you'll get information, you'll be invited to events. It's free registration. Thank you.
Thank you, Patricia. I see another related question in terms of what's the value addition in terms of certification, distinct from the registration. And I think you had articulated that earlier, that it helps the member buyers to be able to verify that at least 51% of those businesses are at least owned by women, either one at least or more than one. So I think that was already answered. But I think Sophia is interested, Elizabeth, interested in knowing if startup businesses that generally are not, very, experienced in their sector, And when they need funding, does it mean that they cannot deal with the World Bank? I think, Elizabeth, you can take that.
Thank you. For the startup businesses, we always recommend that they partner with businesses that have been in business for some time. At least they can be subcontracted as the startups. And then after 1 or 2 years of being subcontracted, then they would be eligible to participate fully. But we encourage the startups to be subcontracted with other bigger firms. I think this would now require the networking and also participating in some of the programs that Sourcing to Kenya avails our different buyers. Yeah.
Great, thank you so much. Top rated questions. The first one is to invest in Africa. Does Biashara.Now platform now serve as a pre-qualification process for potential businesses with your partners? If you could take that, invest in Africa, please. Terry?
Thanks a lot, Joseph. So yes, indeed, for many of our partners, we do serve as a pre-qualification because we do have a vetting process that they have approved. We are also able to tailor-make the vetting process to meet the needs of our various different partners. So when you join Biashara.Now, first, the registration is absolutely free since COVID, so we waived the fee last year and this year. And you will go through 5 simple steps where you put in, for example, your company name, gender information, just a brief description, talk about the company structure, input your directors, what products and service do you provide. Then we'll ask you to upload the document that's on the platform, different, of course, business documents, and then you swear in, that's a sort of declaration that this is correct. So when we go through the due diligence process, the first thing we'll look at is, have you filled in the questionnaire fully and correctly? We'll verify the director's information. So you will be asked about ownership of the business, and we're going to verify. We also want to look at the director's history. Do they have criminal cases? Things like that are also important for the business. We'll verify the company registration documents. So Biashara.Now platform is integrated with the government system, so we're able to check on the spot the validity of the documents you have put in, such as your CR12, your KRA, PIN, your tax compliance certificate, registration permits, things like that. And then we'll verify the location. So for some of the businesses, we may need to do a physical check. Sometimes we do not. It depends on the information that you have provided. You will be asked during the registration for commercial references. So we take this opportunity to verify that they are correct and true. So we will contact your references. We'll do a CRB check. Right now, of course, with some of the government decisions, then this could be a skipped process like CRB check, but usually we'll check the CRB check, and at this point the Invest in Africa vetting officer will make a recommendation about your organization, and then that will be moved forward now to be validated by the advisors to make a decision on the application you have made, and regarding especially integration into the supply chains. We send the due diligence reports to the various partners. As I've said, a bit of the process could be tailor-made to meet the needs and different requirements of the partners. And then once that is complete and you're integrated, then we also do work closely with our partners, of course, on service provision to keep checking the information and due diligence, how correct it is. So for example, you'll find for many of our partners, month to month or quarterly or every half year or 1 year, depending on their requirements, they will send us a batch of their suppliers, including those who are not registered on Biashara.Now that they may already be working with, for us to do business information search. We'll go through the same process and share back the reports. So indeed, for many, we do already serve as a pre-qualification step, but for a few, we'll run the usual pre-qualification call and have you then go on the process that may be outlined in their pre-qualification, an exercise that many tend to do every 2 years to complement what's already going on Biashara.Now. Thank you. I hope that answers the question. Thank you. Back to you, Joseph.
Indeed. So I think this is to Unilever now. What opportunity? I think you had already articulated the opportunities that exist for women in the service sector, but there are those who want to understand where does Unilever advertise the tender opportunities, and given the target we have for 4 million euros by 2025, how are we going about achieving this? Given that we may have existing contracts in place that may not necessarily be with the diverse groups that we are targeting. I think you can take that, Jackie.
Thanks, Sandy. So I'll start maybe with the first one on where do we advertise our tender opportunities, yeah? So ideally, from the practice that we've been putting in place, primarily it has been individually, like let's say myself, I would go into the market and gauge people, get contacts from other respective procurement professionals, get whoever is the requisition of the service may also suggest. We also internally have a database when we have people who just inquire with us, hi, I do XYZ. So we just, yes, we don't respond to everyone, to be honest, but we do collect that information. And then when the need arises, we now dig into it. And then now recently we've been working with Biashara.com, where now we put up all those opportunities as well. In terms of the second question in regards to how will we achieve the 4 million euro target, at present our spend is around 93 million euros. So 4 million by 2025 is roughly 4% of that, and of course it's going to grow year on year. So it's not, to be honest, that ambitious a target, and the reason being that we have, of course, a bulk of our spend is on very specialized materials. So when I talk about the raw and pack materials, which take a longer period to have diversified suppliers, and not even diversified suppliers. So what we are currently actively doing is how can we stagger ourselves to that ambition and be proactive and progressive about it. So I'll say, for example, like in the marketing and business services space, we are making sure we are any new contracts, upon tendering, we ensure the diverse communities are involved in it. We are partnering as well with the respective members on this call to enable them to be upskilling their respective suppliers for that, so that when an opportunity comes in play, they can also be called upon to take part in respective tenders. So as recently as I think a month ago, I think it was through Invest in Africa, we got a plastic supplier, 100% PCR lady named Lydia, who is now supplying with us for us the promotional buckets for Geisha that you see in store now. So we are very deliberate about it, and I think the 4 million, we may even surpass it. Sandy, I hope
Thank you,
that's
Jackie. Definitely. Thank you so much, Jackie. So, Cam, I think this is to Joyce. Are the business diagnostic services free? And if so, how can one be part of it?
Yes, sometimes depending on, some can be free, but depending on the complexity, some will offer free and some will charge. So there's no one shoe that fits all. So it will depend on exactly what you're looking at. Yeah, and then we can be able to advise accordingly.
Okay, thank you, Nduta. I think we'll be back to Unilever because a couple of questions are coming through to your attention. Does Unilever look for agricultural produce, especially, for instance, e.g. Knorr and maybe Royco if you wish?
Yes, and rightly so. Yeah, in the foods portfolio, we do have suppliers locally who supply us with the respective ingredients that go into Royco. So things like cumin powder, Royco curry powder, leek. So yes, we do have local suppliers.
Great, and I think there's another one. Of course, this one I can answer straight off. If we have opportunities in building and construction material, I think that's not the scope for this particular one based on the presentation we had. There's also Emily Koegi who wants to know if vegetable produce count as part of the supplier base, Jackie.
So, okay, if you're doing vegetable product, if you are also doing the value addition of last mile, like drying, because we buy it in the dry form. So if you're doing the, what do we call it? I forget the name, but the drying process of the whatever it is, onions that you're growing, yes, we can actually talk about that, because also women in agriculture is a really key spotlight for Unilever at present, yeah. But we don't buy the vegetable as is, because we don't sell the vegetable, but we do sell the last mile processing of the product.
Okay, good. This one is to Elizabeth. I think it has 3 votes. You mentioned that procurement opportunities greater than a certain amount are the ones that are advertised online. How do we access the smaller jobs, Elizabeth?
Thank you, Sandy. So for the smaller jobs, we are encouraging the women businesses. We have databases that we update from time to time. So we encourage the women businesses, because WeConnect is one of the databases that we use for the different offices. And the women business, a good number of them are registered. So for those who have not yet registered on the WeConnect international website, we encourage you to do that. So those we use the different databases available. WeConnect is currently the one we are using more. Occasionally, we also look at the UN Nairobi office, Nairobi office. They pre-qualify vendors every year. So for those who are able to also participate in those annual pre-qualifications, but at least the first starting point would be the WeConnect international website, because we partner with them on a number of programs. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Elizabeth. I think this is to Unilever from Eva Muraya. Some invest in Africa partners such as ABSA and Safaricom pay SME pre-qualified vendors between 7 to 2 weeks. 7 days to 2 weeks. Does Unilever have any plans to improve this from 90 days, given the cash flow constraints of SME companies? I'll give that to Jackie or Lack, whoever is ready.
Actually, Sunday, thanks for that. Claire wants to tag team with me on this one.
Proceed, Claire, please proceed.
You can hear me, right?
Yes, very loud and clear.
Great, thank you. So to respond to your question, Eva, a very good question. I am part of the global social procurement team, and payment terms is actually a global agenda. So from a global perspective, yes, it is something that we are definitely looking at. It is great that you are aware that our payment terms are actually 90 days. But for SMEs in general, regardless of whether they are diverse or not, we are working on a program to reduce those payment terms to at most 30 days. The same will be communicated once it has been approved. Otherwise, it is a global decision in remit. Yes. There is also one other element which I want to mention, which is supplier financing. So for any Unilever supplier, regardless of the spend, we have an arrangement with Citibank where you can access supplier financing against POs that Unilever has issued. We are very glad and happy that we have negotiated rates, better rates for women-owned SMEs. Their rates are much lower than the normal Unilever negotiated financing rates, which are again also very competitive. I hope that answers your question, Eva.
Thank you, Claire. Over to you, Claire, to give a vote of thanks and wrap it up.
Much, Joseph. So I'd like to give my vote of thanks, or a vote of thanks on behalf of Unilever to all the speakers that have participated today, and to all of you who have attended the call, both our partners as well as the SMEs, the diverse SMEs on the call. I want to thank you, Joseph. Thank you so much, Lack, for accepting to join and sponsor this call. Thank you very much, Terry from Invest in Africa, Mucha from KEPSA, Joyce from CAM. Thank you very much, Jacqueline, from Unilever, our strategic sourcing manager. Thank you for your good responses to the questions that have been asked. Patricia from WeConnect, welcome to Kenya, and we are really, really very excited to have you join our family. Thank you so much, IFC team, represented by Elizabeth, and I believe Angela is also on the call. Our supplier diversity program is a global movement, and as a Kenyan in the global social procurement team, I'm really excited to see that the Kenya team is taking a stand and is at the forefront of our supplier diversity agenda for the benefit of our business, the economic empowerment of underrepresented groups, our communities, and Kenya at large. We really, really look forward to continuing to partner with you and to grow with you as our partners and as our potential suppliers. We really apologize for the few network issues and challenges, and maybe in our next session, maybe next year, we will make room for a physical workshop. Thank you all, and let's continue promoting local and growing Kenya. Back to you, Sunday.
Indeed. Thank you so much, Claire, for the wrap-up. And just to reiterate, massive apologies for the earlier hitches in technology during our session opening, but I hope that this session has been an eye-opener and greatly insightful in terms of giving you some of those tidbits in getting opportunities to our supplier diversity program, not only in Unilever, but across our support networks and the partnerships that we have with most of those who have represented today: IFC, IAA, IIA, KEPSA, CAM, and WeConnect. Thank you so much and have a great evening.